In the region of Argolia, two brothers were fighting over the inheritance left by the late king of Argos. Acrisius won the brotherly contest and became the new king of Argos. His brother, known as Perseus, left for exile. As king, Acrisius didn't produce a male offspring to succeed him, and only conceived the beautiful princess Danae. Unhappy, he went to the oracle, who told him the dreadful news that he would never have a male child. His grandson, soon to be born, would be responsible for his death. After checking in with the oracle, Acrisius fell into paranoia and spotted enemies everywhere. The king did not allow any man to approach his daughter to prevent the terrible prophecy from happening. The monarch's paranoia kept increasing, and he ended up locking his daughter in a tower of his palace. The princess started to struggle with loneliness while jailed in a windowless cell. She desperately prayed to the gods. Zeus, from the heights of Olympus, heard the cry of the beautiful princess Danae. The supreme god was captivated by the feeble mortal creature and decided to visit her. Danae often stood under the skylight in her cell, through which the sunlight came in. Suddenly, a golden drop hit her face. A rain of gold literally fell upon the maiden. This downpour was no one but the supreme god himself, who opted for this unusual method to couple with the young girl. Hit by news of his grandson's birth, King Acrisius was enraged. He suspected that his brother Perseus had impregnated his daughter to claim the throne in the future. The unhinged king decided to punish his daughter's supposed treachery. He put the princess and her baby in an ark and threw them into the sea, hoping that the ocean would put an end to their lives. The ark floated on the waters for days, while Danae awaited for their end. But this was not the fate established by the gods. At Zeus's request, Poseidon led the urn to Seraphius, where Perseus and his mother were rescued by Dictys, a fisherman brother of King Polydectes. The humble fisherman sheltered the new mother and raised Perseus as if he were his son. The boy grew up to be a stunning, strong, and brave man. There was a party in the palace one day. Dictys and his protégés were invited. The king was marveled by Danae, but noticed that she was always shielded by her jealous son. Then came the moment when gifts were offered to the king. The guests brought him jewelry and fine fabrics. Perseus, who was just a fisherman like his raising father, and had nothing of much value to offer. "I'm not rich, therefore I have no jewelry or anything precious as a gift, but I would like to offer you the head of the monstrous Medusa, if that pleases you." The king realized that it was the perfect opportunity to get Perseus away from his mother. "If what you say is true, then go after that lousy creature, and don't come back without bringing its head as a trophy." Being the son of Zeus, Perseus was always aware that a great power lied within himself, and that he was destined to accomplish great things. The hero stood firm and accepted the challenge. Perseus fearlessly set out to meet his destiny. Perseus embarked on an adventure to find and kill the dreadful Gorgon known as Medusa. The hero walked through Greece looking for clues to the creature's location, but found nothing. However, the gods liked Perseus, and his quest was boosted by the heavens. Hermes, the messenger god, gave the young man precious advice. The gods stated that the young man's courage and skill alone would not be enough to defeat the Gorgon. He would need special equipment to accomplish his mission. These items were under the guardianship of the northern nymphs, but their whereabouts were known only to the Graeae, the Grey Witches. Hermes, a connoisseur of every possible route, guided Perseus to the cave where the Graeae were hiding. Before he left, the god presented the hero with a divine sword made in Hephaestus's forges. The blade never lost its edge, it was a remarkable weapon. Perseus entered the Graiai's hiding place. The cave was dark, lit only by a few candles. Perseus spotted the old gray witches at the bottom of the cave. There were 3 of them, but they shared only one eye. Perseus knew he had to get the whereabouts of the northern nymphs from those witches, but threatening them with violence would be pointless, since the 3 old women were immortal. But the cunning Perseus spotted an opportunity, and he sneaked up behind the Graiai. Just as one of them was about to pass the eye to the other, Perseus stole it from their hands. The Graiai were desperate and demanded that Perseus return the eye, but he said he would only do it if they would reveal to him where the nymphs were hiding. Otherwise, they would spend eternity in darkness. With no alternative left, the old witches accepted his proposal, and Perseus gave them back the much-treasured eye. Perseus visited the idyllic country of the Hyperboreans, the land where the sun never set, where the nymphs of the north lived. They were already expecting the hero's arrival and welcomed him with the proper hospitality that the offspring of Zeus deserved. The beautiful maidens presented him with the items necessary for Perseus to fulfill his mission. The nymphs shod the young man with winged sandals similar to Hermes. They handed him the sacred helmet given to them by Hades, which gave him the power of invisibility. And finally, he was given a bag made with special threads to hold his precious trophy. Perseus would also receive the most illustrious visit of all. The splendrous goddess Athena, half-sister of the hero and Zeus's favorite daughter, provided him with a great help. She offered her brother her beautiful shield, the sacred Aegis that had once belonged to Zeus. Now fully equipped, Perseus set out for his encounter with the monster. Upon reaching the creature's hideout, several petrified warriors were at the entrance. Much to Perseus's surprise, 2 other Gorgons were sleeping near the lair's entrance. These were Cethano and Uriel, Medusa's sisters. Perseus made use of Hades' helmet, and he got past the guardians without being seen. Medusa, the dreadful and cursed Gorgon, felt the presence of an invader. She knew something was wrong, but couldn't perceive what. Perseus knew that under no circumstances could he face the creature. Otherwise, he would become another statue for Medusa's long collection. Perseus cautiously moved forward, with his eyes closed. He tried to use as a guide the sound of the snakes hissing in Medusa's hair. But the hero accidentally kicked a rock, and the noise revealed his position. Medusa fired one of her powerful arrows at Perseus and hit his helmet, knocking it off. Perseus was an easy target for Medusa, who fired another arrow. Relying on his amazing reflexes, Perseus blocked it with his shield. That was when he saw his own reflection in the shield's interior. And, as if he had been touched by Athena's wisdom, Perseus conceived a new strategy to fight the monster. He ran and took cover behind the nearest pillar. Using the shield's reflection, he could see the creature getting nearer him from behind. Perseus remained calm and waited until the creature was exactly where he wanted it to be. With a perfect spin, Perseus managed to strike a blow right through Medusa's neck, separating head and body. The creature was dead, and Perseus accomplished a seemingly impossible quest. The hero kept the Gorgon's head in the special bag he had received from the nymphs. But, to the young man's surprise, the blood dripping from the Gorgon's body gave rise to 2 creatures: Chrysaor, the giant with the golden sword, and a beautiful winged horse. They were the offspring of the relationship between Poseidon and Medusa. Making use of his winged sandals, Perseus took off and started his way home. But on his way, he would still have to deal with unexpected events. Perseus defeated the terrible creature known as Medusa and returned home with the monster's head as a trophy. While he was flying over North Africa, he encountered the mighty Titan Atlas. The Titan had been punished by Zeus to hold up the heavenly vault for having opposed the Olympian gods during the Titanomachy, the great war between gods and titans. Perseus stood before Atlas and asked him for shelter in his land. He said he was tired, as he had completed the arduous task of defeating Medusa. Atlas doubted that Perseus was capable of such a feat, so he did not want to give shelter to a liar. Perseus, to prove that he spoke the truth, removed Medusa's head from the bag. The hero displayed his trophy to the Titan. The latter, looking at the Gorgon, began to petrify. He became a huge mountain, whose peak supported the heavens. Perseus left the lands of Atlas behind, and fate would lead him toward an unexpected encounter. Days earlier, at the court of King Cepheus, his proud wife, Queen Cassiopeia, was boasting about her beauty and her beautiful daughter Andromeda. Without any reticence, she claimed that her daughter was more beautiful than the Nereids, the marine deities' daughters of Nereus, the Old Sea. Among the Nereids was Amphitrite, the queen of the oceans and wife of Poseidon, who was offended to learn that a mortal considered herself to be above her. Queen Cassiopeia's unreasonable pride caused her husband's kingdom to be punished by the god of the seas. At his wife's request, Poseidon pushed great waves against that kingdom, which seemed destined for destruction. But an oracle claimed that there was a way to placate the god's fury. To do this, the beautiful Princess Andromeda was to be sacrificed. The princess was bound to a rock to be given as an offering to a sea monster known as Cetus. The princess was abandoned to her terrible fate. But, by the intervention of the Ladies of Fate, Perseus crossed the skies of that kingdom at that moment. The monstrous Cetus emerged from the depths to take his tribute, but Perseus was unwilling to allow that to happen. With the extermination of the monster, Andromeda was saved and Perseus broke the princess's chains. Cepheus and Cassiopeia gave the beautiful princess's hand to the hero. Perseus and Andromeda were married. The king gave Perseus a ship to complete his task, alongside his wife. The hero landed at his destination, to the surprise of all the citizens, as no one believed that the young man would return alive. During his absence, the king tried to force the hero's mother to marry him, but Danae resisted the king's approaches. She sought refuge in Athena's temple to avoid being raped. When Perseus heard about this, he was furious and went to the royal palace to settle accounts with the monarch. Polydectes was surrounded by guards, determined to kill Perseus. Perseus fought against the guards but realized that they were too many, and his victory would be impossible. So he took Medusa's head, petrifying all his opponents. The infamous King Polydectes was also petrified, and his cowardice was immortalized in his final pose. Dictys, the king's brother, was chosen to occupy the vacant throne and proved to be a just and benevolent king. Perseus's fame spread throughout Greece. Acrisius, the hero's biological father, fearing the prophecy that claimed his son would be responsible for his death, fled, fearing the young man's revenge. But Perseus did not want revenge. His fame allowed him to be welcomed anywhere. In a distant kingdom, he was invited to participate in the games in honor of the gods. Perseus threw the disc with extraordinary force, hitting the area where spectators were watching the games. The disc hit an elderly man in the head, killing him instantly. He was Acrisius, who could not avoid his fate. Perseus returned the shield to the goddess Athena and offered her the head of Medusa. The goddess of wisdom placed the Gorgon's head in her aegis. Perseus then founded the glorious city of Mycenae, with his blood circulated in the veins of a glorious offspring. Among them, Hercules, the greatest of all heroes. The name of the man who exterminated the dangerous Gorgon became synonymous with heroism and courage, and his legend echoed for eternity.